up elevating people like Bernie Sanders, who seem like they're acting on principle, but are just the opposite. Here's one example. Sanders recently took fire from the left-wing think tank Center for American Progress. Cap noted the irony, and it's real, that Bernie Sanders became a millionaire by writing a book about how millionaires are evil. Sanders didn't like that criticism. Last night, he delivered this response to it. Listen.
You raised the issue, I am a millionaire. Well, actually, this year we had $560,000 in income. And that's a lot of money. And that money, in my case, my wife's case, it came from a book that I wrote. Pretty good book. You might want to read it. It was a bestseller, sold all over the world, and we made money. So if anyone thinks that I should apologize for writing a best-selling book, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it.
So the question is not, should you be allowed to write a book? The question is, should you become a millionaire doing it? And Bernie says, yeah, if you want to become a millionaire, write your own bestseller. So Bernie's solution is what? With me now, entrepreneurship. Just like Jack Kemp and Ronald Reagan, it's fine. He's not embarrassed about it, neither were they. But let's not call it socialism. Let's not tell the kids it's socialism. It's not socialism. Bernie may think it is, or more likely he doesn't think that much about anything. Maybe he's not capable of it or doesn't care to or whatever. How else explain this? Last night on this channel, Sanders seemed completely baffled when Martha McCallum asked him a very simple question. The immigrants being detained at the border, where should they be kept exactly? Watch this.
The overflow that we have no capacity for, where do you think they should go?
We need real comprehensive immigration reform. We don't need, and let me say this very clearly, we don't need to demonize immigrants. That we don't need to do.
But let me ask you to answer my question, which is, right now, if you were the president of the United States, we have overflowing facilities. They need to go somewhere because they're in that asylum process.
What about building?
Where would you put them?
What about building proper facilities for them right now?
Where?
That can be done
Where?
right on the border. Right on the border at the same
time. So the people who live on the border should have more facilities in their states, but sanctuary cities which have said they're open to accepting people should not take more.
Now, this is a political act on the...
It's not a real question, says Bernie Sanders. Keep in mind, Sanders is the frontrunner in the Democratic race for the nomination right now, and he's considered super impressive, at least a man of principle and depth. He's an intellectual. You may not like him, but he's very smart, really. So he was just asked, where should they be kept? And he basically said, well, nobody should be denied entry at the border. Okay, so where are they going to stay? Shut up. That's not a real question. Don't demonize immigrants. Pass comprehensive immigration reform. He reverts immediately to talking points. That's not impressive, it's buffoonish, and it's par right now. In the Democratic Party, logical incoherence is practically a campaign plank. For example, Democrats are telling us that America sends too many people to jail. And they may be right about that. We send a lot of people to jail. They're telling us we need to let thousands of drug dealers out of jail, even though we're in the middle of the worst drug epidemic in American history. They even got the White House to sign on to that, as you may have noticed. And so it's happening. The legislation passed and was signed. And yet, even as thousands of criminals stream out to freedom and to voting, which is always the point, at least one Democratic presidential candidate, Eric Swalwell, tells us we need to send a new class of people back to prison. Mass incarceration on a huge scale. Watch this.
Criminal prosecution for keeping assault weapons. What's the punishment for people who don't hand in their guns? Do they go to jail?
Well, Jake, they would, but I also offer an alternative, which would be to keep them at a hunting club or a shooting range. But I think the greatest threat to the Second Amendment is doing nothing. And the Second Amendment is not an absolute right.
Yeah, the greatest threat to the Second Amendment is not sending millions of law-abiding Americans to prison after they've been reclassified as felons overnight. That's the real threat. So how is this going to work exactly? How does Swalwell plan to seize all those weapons and imprison all of those people? And who's going to fight on his side during the Civil War that inevitably will result from this? Well, we have no idea. And, of course, neither does Eric Swalwell. He's just making noises he thinks the left wants to hear. That's what they're all doing on every topic. They tell us the Green New Deal is the most important thing we can do. It's more important than the beaches at Normandy. It's more important than winning World War II. It's more important than putting a man on the moon. Neil Armstrong, shh, Green New Deal's in town now. Okay, so what's in the Green New Deal? Nobody knows. They're making it up as they go along. Impeach Trump. It must be done. That Steyer character has taken a break from private equity or whatever he does to devote his life to impeaching Trump. Okay. What are the charges? They don't know. They don't have any idea. They can't even tell you. Democrats don't even know who's leading their party right now. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says that she's leading the party. Nancy Pelosi scoffs passively aggressively in response to that.
She likes to minimize the conflicts within her caucus between the moderates and the progressives.
You have these wings, AOC and her group on one side.
That's like 5 people.
Yeah, it's like 5 people, if only. And by the way, the divide is not between the moderates and the progressives. There's nothing moderate about Nancy Pelosi. There's nothing progressive about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Here's the real division. It's between equality, which is the traditional agenda of the Democratic Party, an agenda that cared about the individual and the constitutional rights that protected the individual, and the new wing of the Democratic Party, which, news to Nancy Pelosi, is bigger than 5 people. It's the identity politics wing of the party. Identity politics is the opposite of equality. Identity politics preclude equality. They make it impossible. In identity politics, all groups are not equal. Some are much better than others. Some must be destroyed. That is not equality. It's permanent war. So that's what's taken the place of concerns about the individual. And you can see it even in the personal behavior of the Democratic candidates for president. Beto O'Rourke, for example, turns out gave 1/3 of 1% of his total income to charity last year. 1/3 of 1%. He's a rich guy, too. Kamala Harris, also a rich person, 1.4% to charity. So why are these people not being called out on this? They want to run the country, but they give nothing to charity? Well, because they say the right things. That's why. They check the little identity politics boxes. They're against white privilege. So it's enough, except it's not enough. This is not a satisfying style of politics. It doesn't actually improve anyone's life. It's not working. And the Democrats running for president, even those standing on the sidelines, know it's not working. They're going to lose to President Trump unless they figure out a way to improve the lives of actual people. Otherwise, the internal contradictions in this party will become unbearable. This is the party of hedge fund managers and illegal aliens. What holds it all together? They have no idea. And until they find that out, it's going to fall apart. Nate Lerner is executive director.